Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the First and 10 podcast. This is the second episode in 3 days, so I'm going to make sure I get all these episodes out. I know I was slacking earlier, beginning of the channel, but yeah, I've got nothing really to do now this summer, like I said in the previous video, so I'm going to be trying to upload as much as possible. I did start my first day of college today, and it went well. I only had one class. It was Introduction to Film, and it starts at like 11, and we go in there, we watch a movie, and then we leave. And obviously we had to do work on the class. We had to write essays about the movies, but I only have it once a week on Wednesdays. So that's really nice, and I'll be able to probably record more. I think I'm also probably going to be working on Wednesdays as well, at least until October, because then I have another class that's going to be before that, but that's only going to be an 8-week class. So during the meantime, I'll be able to pump out some episodes then if on Wednesdays. Also, I want to make sure that this sound is good. The last couple videos that I've had problems, but I tested it this time and before I started recording, and if it's bad, then I might have to get a new microphone or something, or start a different process of recording or something like that. But yeah, hopefully it's good. I wanted to talk about another sport before I dive into the division this episode, but this is a sport that I really enjoy playing, and I don't think it gets talked about enough. It's so easy to play, and it's also free to play, and really you can play it anywhere. I wanted to talk about disc golf today because honestly, the reason I want to talk about it is because I've been playing a lot recently, and also I'm probably going to go play it after I upload this episode. But yeah, I just wanted, and it's just growing a lot. So I wanted to maybe talk about disc golf here on the podcast, maybe make an episode or two, especially just because the season is coming to a close. They just had their Worlds, which Gannon Burr won. That dude is a beast. I mean, for a sport where it's just you versus everyone else, just an individual sport, I mean, that guy is going to be on top for a long, long time. He's, I think, 18 years old, 19 years old maybe, and he's just so good. And yeah, so I just wanted to maybe get some feedback on if we wanted to talk about, or if you guys would want to hear about, disc golf or any other sports really. I mean, football is my main thing, but I keep up with basketball. Also, college football is something that's going to be starting that I'm very interested in. I love listening to the Joel Klatt show. So he's normally who I listen to whenever it comes to college football, and I'm really hoping to catch some games this year, specifically the big ones. I know Ohio State, Texas is going to be huge in week 1. Even week 0, I believe we have Kansas State and Iowa State. That's going to be a fun game. Just really any games with the big schools playing against each other. I don't really care to watch Alabama kick UTEP's ass 53-0 by halftime. I mean, that's my one thing with college football compared to the NFL. Whenever I talk to people about that, I feel like the talent gap in the NFL is so much closer, so it makes for better overall football. But I mean, whenever you get those elite college games, I mean, the atmosphere is fantastic. These players are fantastic. You also know that these guys are going to be the next stars of the NFL, so it's really fun. I mean, that Ohio State-Georgia game a couple years ago with C.J. Stroud, whenever he was on the Buckeyes, that game was phenomenal. So I plan on watching more college football, maybe talking about it a little more, top 25 maybe, and just the big games. So yeah, those are just a couple things I wanted to touch on before we started talking about today's division, which, if just a reminder that the divisions I'm talking about are going to be from worst to best. So this is the sixth best division in my opinion. And that division today is going to be the AFC East. We are finally getting into divisions that are going to have a Super Bowl contender or maybe multiple Super Bowl contenders in their division. There's not many divisions that have multiple Super Bowl contenders, in my opinion. I think they're off the top of my head, I can think of two. I don't think there's more. I mean, it depends on what you think of certain teams, but I personally think there's only two. But today's division has at least one Super Bowl contender in it. And normally I talk about them from worst teams to best teams. So today, in fourth place, I'm going to go with my my brain rather than my heart, because if it were my heart speaking, I would say the Dolphins would be finishing last, but I think the Jets are just going to barely finish below them. Now, the reason that I say that I'm thinking with my mind instead of my heart is because this is honestly more of a Miami Dolphins thing. I think with all their offseason buzz, with how their culture is not great, Mike McDaniel doesn't know how to run his team, and the players are always coming in late. They have attitudes. It's Miami. It's a busy city. There's a lot to do. There's distractions. I think that as long as Tua stays healthy, which is obviously a big if, but, they almost made the playoffs last year, and when Tua plays a full season, they did make the playoffs, and they don't really lose a lot of games that they aren't supposed to lose whenever Tua's playing. Now, if you put them in cold weather against Baltimore or Buffalo or Kansas City, they aren't going to beat those teams. But they'll beat the Saints and the Colts and the Titans. Excuse me. And teams like that, the Browns, even like the I don't want to say the Steelers, but if they were going to play in week 1, I'd pick the Dolphins to beat the Steelers, But, I think that whenever Tua is playing, that they are a good team, and I think they have a medium floor and not a very high ceiling. I really think that's close. Now, if Tua gets hurt, then for sure they can be one of the bottom teams in the AFC. But I think that is going to be the Jets. I really like what the Jets did this offseason, hiring Aaron Glenn. I think he's a big culture changer, right? And I just saw something today where they did a players-only practice. Obviously, Aaron Glenn was there, but they had all the other coaches. They weren't there. And Justin Fields ran the offense, and I forget who ran the defense, but it was a player. And, it was competitive. It was fun for the Jets. And it's just really nice to see a coach go in and change the culture there. They have been bottom feeders for years. I don't think outside of the Mark Sanchez years, I don't think I've ever seen the Jets be a good team. There was one year, I believe it might have been like 2014 or 2015. I think they had Eric Decker and Brandon Marshall as their receivers, and I'm trying to remember who their quarterback was. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they were like 9-7, barely missed the playoffs, and that's really the only time that I remember the Jets actually being a relevant team. And now, I think that not this season. I think next season's where they look. I think if they can get there, I don't think if they have a terrible record this year, I have them going 6-11. Their floor would probably be like 5 wins, and I think their ceiling could be 7, maybe 8 wins. I don't think they'll have a winning record. I don't think they have a chance at that. But, if you get 6 wins and you have the 7th overall pick and you're able to get a quarterback in next season, that quarterback either sits behind Justin Fields or he plays. I think this team's just going to overall head in the right direction, just not this year. I just don't think very highly of the player Justin Fields. I really like the person Justin Fields. I think he's a great leader. I think he's good in the locker room. I think even his just ability to manage the game, I guess, is okay. You saw it last year in Pittsburgh, but he really caps the offensive ceiling, in my opinion, on that team. Because, I mean, just reference his season last year in Pittsburgh. He got benched because I think he got benched because they promised Russell Wilson that he was going to be the starter if he signed there. That's why he signed there for only like $2 million. Obviously, he had the big contract with Denver, but he just wanted to play. You know, he wanted to be the starter. They promised him he'd play, and then he got hurt preseason, had to sit out some games. But also, Justin Fields was just limited. You know, it was difficult. He can't read the field like an average quarterback. He can't even. He's got arm talent, but also his accuracy is a little, you know. And that's why he got replaced. And I think it'll happen again, but by a rookie quarterback. And I think that Aaron Glenn's good. I think he'll be able to basically the word that I'm looking. I can't find the word that I'm looking for, but he'll just be able to manage. I guess he'll just be able to manage the season with Justin Fields, knowing that next year is going to be an improvement. I mean, it's kind of like, I don't want to say it's like a Sean Payton and Russell Wilson thing where it's like, you know, your job's going to be safe. And he, obviously going into this season, he's giving Justin Fields a chance. But I also think he looks at it like, if Justin Fields isn't going to be our guy, we will be perfectly fine getting a guy in the draft next year. And then going forward, that's going to be our guy. It's really a win-win for Aaron Glenn as long as you get the culture right, you keep your best players happy, and you win the games that you can. I don't expect New York to go into Buffalo and go toe-to-toe with them. I don't expect New York to go against any of those teams that are the giants in the AFC, like the Chiefs or the Bills or the Ravens. I don't expect them to beat any of those teams. I don't even expect them to beat those second-tier teams like Denver or Los Angeles Chargers, I guess. There's two teams there. Or even Cincinnati, you know, just because Cincinnati, I don't see, there's no way Justin Fields is going to be able to keep up with the firepower that Cincinnati puts up. If I think they play, there's no way he's putting 30 up on even Cincinnati's defense, I don't think. At least unless Breece Hall takes over the game or Garrett Wilson takes over the game. They won't do good offensively because of Justin Fields is what I'm trying to say. And in my previous videos, I've explained why I think, obviously, if you watch football, you know how important the quarterback is, but how really emphasize it. If you don't have a good quarterback, I do not think you even have a chance. I don't care how good your team is. Everyone bashes Jalen Hurts because he's got a great team around him, right? I mean, and he does. They say, oh, but, you know, he's not a top 6 or top 8 quarterback because his team just carries him. He can't throw the ball. Like, they don't throw the ball because they have Saquon, and it's just like Saquon carries the team, or A.J. Brown carries the team, and Devonta Smith. Those receivers carry Jalen Hurts. Like, you aren't going to win if Jalen Hurts is a bad quarterback, and obviously, not even bad, yeah, but also they aren't going to be that good if Jalen Hurts wasn't a top 5 or 6 quarterback. 6 at the least is where Jalen Hurts is. There's no way I think the NFL released their tiers of quarterbacks, and it was Mahomes and Burrow and at the top, not obviously, but they were at the top. All 50 votes were tier 1 for those guys. And then Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and also Matthew Stafford kind of finished out that tier 1. And then in tier 2, I believe the order was, I want to say it was Justin Herbert. Let me just look this up real quick, actually. Okay, so for some reason I can't find this list, but I know for a fact, actually, the 6th quarterback was Jaden Daniels. The 7th quarterback was Justin Herbert. the 8th quarterback was Jared Goff, and then the 9th quarterback was Jalen Hurts. I remember Jalen Hurts being ranked at 9. If I'm wrong, you can correct me. That's perfectly fine. But I know that I'm positive that Jalen Hurts was number 9. And, if you asked me who I'd want over those guys, would I rather have Jalen Hurts or Jared Goff? I think I'm going to take Jalen Hurts, right? If you ask me if I wanted Justin Herbert or Jalen Hurts, do I want the guy who is going to win me Super Bowls or a Super Bowl and at least get me to 2? Or do I want the guy who throws 4 interceptions in a playoff game? You can do whatever you want in the regular season, obviously to an extent. You can also have the strongest arm in the league, make the most insane passes, the highlight reel plays. But if you aren't going to get me Super Bowls or at least one or at least a playoff win, I'm not going to choose you. So give me Jalen Hurts over Justin Herbert. And Jaden Daniels, I'm a Jaden Daniels homer. I love Jaden Daniels. But, I don't think he's necessarily proven that he's better than Jalen Hurts yet. I mean, he's went toe-to-toe with him 3 times. I don't think he beat him at all because Jalen Hurts didn't play in the game that the Commanders did win. But, I could see arguments for Jaden Daniels at that point just because talent-wise, Jaden Daniels does so much right, but also he hasn't had the proven time, so I'd still take Jalen Hurts at this point to say he's the better quarterback right now. And you even get up to like Matthew Stafford. They're both Super Bowl winning quarterbacks, and I would say that that's where it gets tricky. Matthew Stafford is going to be a Hall of Famer. Jalen Hurts, if he keeps going on this path, he probably will also be a Hall of Famer. Obviously, it's way too early to tell for him. But at this current moment, especially too, if you were to ask me going into the season, who do I want? I'd probably say Jalen Hurts, just because Matthew Stafford's 37. Last season, he didn't play that great. And honestly, you could say that about the last couple seasons, actually, because he's been hurt. I think he played most of his games last year, if not all. But the year before, he definitely missed some time. But yeah, Jalen Hurts, probably top 5 quarterback. And that is totally off topic too. But to, I guess, land this plane is you need a good quarterback to get at least 9 or 10 wins. And then you need a great quarterback to be a Super Bowl contender, in my opinion. So the Jets just don't fall into either of those categories. I think they will take care of that next year. I really like their offensive pieces. I think Breece Hall is in for a, maybe not breakout year, but a bounce-back year. I think he'll have over 1,000 yards, and I think he'll have around 8 touchdowns. I think he'll definitely earn his a new contract that he talked about. He said he hadn't proven it yet, which that's mad respect to him because, a lot of players want their money as soon as they can, especially whenever they've already had an ACL tear, they want to make sure they get that guaranteed money, and I'm totally for that because your career could be ended in 1 second, 1 snap, 1 play, everything you've worked for years and years and years, basically your entire life can just go away. So I totally understand why most players want that guaranteed money, but I also respect Breece Hall for saying, I haven't proven it. Garrett Wilson, I think he will be actually even better this year than he has been. I think this will be his best year yet. The thing with Justin Fields is he does lock on to one guy, really. You saw last year a little bit with George Pickens, whenever Justin Fields actually was throwing the ball, if he wasn't running it. He did do well at getting George Pickens the ball, but really he did well at getting DJ Moore the ball. And DJ Moore, and I'm talking about Chicago, when he was in Chicago, DJ Moore is a better receiver than George Pickens, but I think he's around the same level as Garrett Wilson. So I think you can see a season that DJ Moore had in 2023, I think you can see one of those seasons, a season similar this year with Garrett Wilson. I expect him, I'd say if I had to put a mark on it or a number, I'd say 1,100 yards, And I really think he can get to double-digit touchdowns. I think they really are going to want to get him the ball, especially since they just paid him to. Obviously, on the defensive side of the ball, you got Sauce Gardner. I know he maybe wasn't as good last year as he has been these couple of years, but they paid him, and I still think he's an elite-level corner. And I totally forgot to talk about the offensive line. Their offensive line is actually very good, surprisingly, you know. So I really expect the Jets to be, and overall, I really expect them to put up fights this year and battle for wins. I think they'll have a lot of one-possession games this year that I think just a better quarterback will be able to flip that. Like, let's say they go 3 or I guess that's too much. That's too many games. Let's say they go like 2 and like 6 in one-score games this year. If they can at least just get that next year to like 5-3 or something like that, or just even it out, like that's an extra 3 wins. If you win 6 games this year, that's up to 9 next year, and then it's just continuous improvement from there. And also, you know, you got to take advantage of this while you can. While Miami's gonna have their trouble soon for sure. I think they will. And before New England gets their tires spinning, which I think we'll talk about that later on. And obviously the Bills aren't going anywhere. But I think you can take the approach kind of like how all of these other teams have in the AFC West, for example, or you can even the AFC North, where it's just all you can do is focus on getting better each year and every day as well. And I think that's what the Jets did. I think a lot. I think them departing from Aaron Rodgers is great too, and just getting out of that mess. You know, I think it's good that the GM is actually going to run the franchise now. I think it's good that the head coach is actually going to have a grip on the team, and it's not the quarterback just dictating every single thing. They're going to be ran like a real NFL team and not a circus, which is going to be really good for them as well. So just basically rehabbing after the Aaron Rodgers situation is what this season is. And even though they might not get a lot of wins, I think as long as all of their players show flashes, and even if Justin Fields proves me wrong and is a good quarterback and is able to get them to 9 wins, that's going to be fantastic for the Jets fan base, because this is what they need. They need a culture shifter like Aaron Glenn, and hopefully it works out for them. I really hope it does, because I'm really hoping that my prediction is wrong. I really actually am going to be rooting for the Jets a lot this fall and winter as well. I really want to see them do good. I just don't think it's going to happen, and I can't go out on record saying the Jets are going to finish 9-8 and get a wild card spot, because truly, I just don't believe in it. All right, let's talk about the third place team in this division, what I think is going to be the third place team, the Miami Dolphins. Kind of what I was saying earlier, I really think this is all going to come down to his health. And I think history shows us that you have to at least mark down and take into account that he's going to miss a couple games, right? He's only played 17 games once in his career, and I don't know if that's going to change this season. Obviously, you don't want to, in general, you don't want to say or predict injuries in the NFL. Like, it would be kind of ridiculous if I was like, the Chiefs are going to go 10-7 because Mahomes is going to get hurt in Week 14, and the Chiefs are going to lose a surplus of games during that time until he returns. That's kind of ridiculous. But with Tua specifically, who's got history, you almost have to just kind of count that in. And I love not to, but I think I have to. So basically, what I'm going to do is I've kind of thought, like, let's say he misses like 3 games, and all 3 of those games are going to be losses, because the Dolphins are not good when Tua's not there, which is exactly why they paid him, which is exactly why I wish, as a fan, or as someone who's not a fan of the team but is a fan of the NFL, it's so easy to say that, why would you pay Tua? You know, like, if I put myself in the shoes of the GM, it's like, why would you pay Tua? He's not going to get you a Super Bowl, and that's the ultimate goal. So if this guy's not going to get you there, then why would you do it? But also, stability in an organization is very important. I mean, look at the Browns organization and how they haven't been able to find a quarterback ever. Or the Bears have never been able to find a quarterback. We'll see how it goes with Caleb Williams. Ever. They have never had a great quarterback. So just to have a good one is very important in this league. And, if Tua can make the playoffs, maybe win a playoff game, even if they're a first-round exit, that sells tickets, especially in the regular season. That's going to sell tickets, and there could be 1 year or 2 years in his career where they go crazy in the regular season and they have a home game and they win, and maybe they make an AFC Championship game and lose or something like that. I mean, there's potential there, so I get why they signed it, and I also get why Tua really, obviously every player is going to want the maximum amount of money they can get, unless you're Patrick Mahomes and you're going to continue to get paid for the next 15 years. You're going to have a lot of endorsements and you actually care more about winning than you do money. So I get the situation, and I really think, though, that the Dolphins need to be the team that finds a quarterback that's willing to be a backup, even because he knows that he's going to be able to start at some point. Because you can't roll. And I literally went to school where Skylar Thompson graduated from. So I really rooted for him to do well during his couple stints, I guess, starting. He started in that playoff game, and I believe week 18 back in 2023. I really rooted for him, and he didn't. I mean, he almost won. He did almost win one of those games, but sadly, I don't think he's the answer. I don't think. Who did they start last year as well? Whoever they started last year just wasn't the answer either. That offense only runs if Tua's there. And whenever Tua's there, they're great, though. That's the crazy part. And that's why I'm not trying to get so stuck in all of this culture business that they talk about. Because normally I'd say, yeah, if you want a great culture, I look at the Jets, and I just said that, the Jets having a culture shifter in Aaron Glenn is going to be great. But Mike McDaniel has been running this team like this for years, and they've been fine. Tyreek Hill has been showing up late to practices often for a while, and they were winning even whenever this was happening. So I think it's a big deal. Yes, I wish this wouldn't happen. Maybe they'd be a better team if they were able to do things just, I guess, right culturally. But, they still have been able to put together winning seasons during that time. And there's not really much else to say about the Dolphins besides the Tua thing. I mean, the offense, if he's there, the offense is going to be good. The defense is just not ever. They just traded away Jalen Ramsey. They got Minkah Fitzpatrick back on the team, which is kind of crazy. I don't even know if he's happy to be there or not. But I think the defense is just going to be kind of middle of the pack again, like they usually are. They're just not as physical, and whenever it gets cold, until the Dolphins prove otherwise, that I guess they can beat the accusations that they can't play in the cold and they can't beat big dogs, then this is just who they are. They're going to be a middle-of-the-pack team that's going to win 8 or 9 games. They might seek into a wild card spot, which I don't think they will. But also, they benefited from having a terrible division as well. And with the Jets improving from last year and the Patriots improving from last year and the Bills just being the Bills, I'm really curious to see how this season plays out for them. I think, like I said, they'll be 8 and 9. I don't really I got to pencil into missing a couple games. Sadly, he's probably the only player I would ever do that with, at least right now, quarterback-wise at least. And, there's not much else to say about the Dolphins besides that Mike McDaniel as a coach, I don't know how I like that. I think he fits the offensive coordinator role much better. I think he could be one of the highest paid offensive coordinators. Obviously, you'd rather be a coach. You'd rather it be your team. And we'll see if he can change his coaching style at least. I mean, I don't know if you really want to change your coaching style because, that's how you got there in the first place and you've kept your job for multiple years now. I think he's going into year 4, maybe year 3. I believe it's year 4, though. So we'll see how that goes for him. And best of luck to the Dolphins this season. We'll see how it goes. And I really think that their floor is – I think their floor is much lower than what I think their actual record is going to be. I think they could end up 5-12, not even because of the 2 injuries, but because the team's feels like it's falling apart. I mean, sure, you could blame it on the 2 injuries as well, and if there's any that you foresee, but I mean the team is just falling apart. It feels like, but we'll see how that goes. Their ceiling, though, I think that they could just do what they did back in 2023, have a high-flying offense, make the playoffs, and hope maybe they win a playoff game. I don't think they would. I'd say their ceiling is a wild card exit for sure. All right, so let's talk about the team that probably has, I want to say, maybe buzz isn't the right word, but for sure the most improved team in everyone's eyes, it feels like, the New England Patriots. A lot of people have them as a dark horse playoff team, and it's not really a dark horse anymore since so many people are picking them to make the playoffs. And, I could see why they have them making the playoffs, though. I mean, they did a lot to improve their roster. I think the coaching change is huge. Mike Vrabel from Gerard Mayo is fantastic. And I think this team is going to be very improved from last year. Now, I think we need to pump the brakes a little bit, though, on the making the playoffs and winning a playoff game even train. I think it's going to be huge for them to go from the number 1 or the number 4 overall draft pick, and I think they will end up winning 9 games, maybe 10, but I still don't think that that's enough to make the playoffs for them. I think they'll be one of the first teams to miss the playoffs, and I just think that the AFC has too many good teams, and I think that New England is going to just need another year to get to that point. They're in a division where it's going to be a little difficult to, I think they go 3-3 maybe. I don't think that they are going to win more than split all of their games in their division, which I feel like a lot of teams benefit from either bad divisions and that's how they make the playoffs, or an easier schedule and that's how they make the playoffs. And I know New England is going to have, I believe, the easiest schedule in the division. I think they have a 4th place schedule, but still, this team is only a year removed from having barely any talent on the roster. And sure, they've got Drake May, they've got their quarterback. He played well last year, but did he play well enough to make me think that he's going to take some gigantic leap this year and lead this team to the playoffs? I don't think so. I think he'll take another leap, but I don't think he'll take I'm trying to think of a good example for a year 2 quarterback that took the leap. Off the top of my head, I can't think of one, but it's hard nowadays because you compare these quarterbacks to Jaden Daniels and CJ Stroud, who just immediately took their team to the playoffs and won a playoff game. But that's not the standard, and I think we need to pump the brakes. And I think Drake May is going to need another year before he actually kicks his foot into the playoffs and starts causing noise there. They drafted the running back out of Ohio State, Travion Henderson, which I think is going to be very good. I think he'll be a very good player. They drafted Kyle Williams, receiver. They brought in Stephon Diggs. They drafted Will Campbell with their first pick. I think they did so much to improve their roster, which they I would say they probably are the most improved team, but I think from where they were to where they are now, I still don't think, even though it's such a big improvement, I don't think that's enough to get them into the playoffs. I don't think they make the playoffs over someone like the Chargers or the Broncos or even Cincinnati, or you could even argue the Steelers, which, you know, Mike Tomlin, obviously they have Aaron Rodgers, which was a mess in New York, but they've never had a losing season. So do you really think that this team, the Patriots, are going to make it in over the Steelers? I don't know. That's a hard conversation. You could even argue, like, I have the Texans missing the playoffs. Do I really think that they would make the playoffs over the Texans? I don't know. You know, I would have more faith probably in the Texans making the playoffs if I were to put money on it than the Patriots. I just think the AFC is obviously very top-heavy, but I think it's also very underrated in their middle teams, like their wild card teams. There's not very many bad teams in the AFC, which makes this more difficult for New England. I think if they were in the NFC, which you could obviously argue is harder, I think they'd have a better shot at making the playoffs. And the NFL has gotten to a place now to where there's obviously like 4 or 5 elite teams that probably realistically have a shot at the Super Bowl. And then there's like 3 or 4 bad teams that have no shot at anything besides the number 1 overall pick. And then every other team, so if like you have 4 teams, number 1 overall pick, and there's 5 teams, that's 9. So you have 23 teams who are all just fighting for the playoff spots, and it's going to be really close. You know, it's going to come down to tiebreakers. It's going to come down to tiebreakers like the head-to-head matchups. And do I think that New England is going to beat Cincinnati or beat the Chargers or beat the Broncos, beat the Texans? I don't think so. Like, I don't think they're that good yet. Even with all their improvements, I just don't think they're that good yet. Obviously, I don't know if they play those teams. Let me look at their schedule. That's what I'm going to do, actually. I'm going to look at their schedule, and we're going to find out who they play, and I want to go through their schedule week by week just to, like, see what they are going to do. Okay, we've got the Patriots schedule pulled up here, and I'm going to go through it week by week. So week 1 is already, a huge tester game for both of these teams. It's going to be the Raiders and the Patriots. Raiders at the Patriots. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, I think this is where the Patriots hype is already going to kind of slow down a little bit, because I think the Raiders are going to go in there and win. I think that they are going to win. And then the following week, you play Miami in September. That's going to be a difficult game. I think that could go either way. I'd probably say New England's going to win that, though, just because they lost the previous week. I think you can't start 0-2. And then you have the Steelers coming into town, and that's one of those big head-to-head games, right, that you need to win, because later in the year, that's what's going to matter, is those types of games. And I'm obviously not going to make all of these predictions right now, but they play Cincinnati week 12 in Cincinnati. That game's going to be a hard game. Do they win that? I don't think so. They play the Ravens week 16. That is probably going to be big playoff implications, not for the Ravens, but for the Patriots. And these are the types of games that I'm talking about. Even like these games that aren't going to be head-to-head tiebreakers for them, but they are teams of similar talent, or even more. They have more talent. The other team, that is, like the Falcons. They play week 9 in Foxborough. The Falcons come to town. Do they win that game? If I were a betting man, it'd be hard to say, I guess, because I don't know how great Michael Penix or Drake May are, really. That's a game that you'd have to decide later on in the year. But then the following week, New England goes into Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay would be the better team, and I think they'd win that game. So there's just a lot of games that I think that they could lose, and we also just don't know how they're going to compete in their division, and there's a lot of questions that I have about this team, but I still give them the benefit of the doubt and give them a 9-10 or 9-8 record, and I think that their ceiling I think they can make the playoffs. I don't think that they have. I don't think they can get 11 games. So I think their ceiling is going to be 10-7 with a playoff berth and a first-round wild card exit. Same as the Dolphins, honestly. I think they both have the same ceiling. I just think the Patriots have a lower floor. I mean, a higher floor. I think the max amount of games that they win, the minimum amount of games that they win is going to be 7. Because they are really improved. I don't think this hype is for nothing. They improved the offense a lot. And Mike Vrabel will be able to take care of the defense. Honestly, obviously, you want good players on your defense, but you could say regardless who's on it, Mike Vrabel's going to take care of that. But yeah, the Patriots at 9-8 is what I got. No playoffs, and if you disagree, let me know why. And our number 1 team in the division, I mean, there's no question about this, in my opinion. I don't think that if anybody even says somebody else, then they're just trying to get clicks or they're just trying to be controversial, because the Buffalo Bills, I mean, there's no question about this. Usually whenever you're going to pick your division winners, you want to go with who's got the best quarterback, because that's really what happened last year. I mean, in the divisions, let's go down the division winners last year. It was the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, obvious. Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen, that's also obvious. Lamar Jackson, you could argue that one, but especially after last year, Joe Burrow put on a clinic offensively. But even before that, I mean, even before that season, though, you would argue that Lamar Jackson was the better quarterback. I mean, he's got MVPs. Joe Burrow doesn't. You could argue that's just because his team doesn't win as often as Lamar's does. But regardless, Lamar was the best quarterback going into that season, so that makes sense. And then obviously the Texans, C.J. Stroud, that one, I feel different about that this year, but that was more arguable than the other ones. But C.J. Stroud going into last year probably was the best quarterback in that division. So yeah, I mean, like, I'm taking that same philosophy this year. I think that obviously, like, Josh Allen's going to be the best quarterback in this division. I think Trevor Lawrence will outplay C.J. Stroud this year, not only because, obviously because statistically wise I think he will, but also it's kind of out of CJ's control too with his offensive line. But anyways, this isn't a South video. This is an AFC East video. And what else is there really to say about the Buffalo Bills besides it's the same story every year for them. It's, can they get over the hump? Can they beat the Chiefs this year? And I think as a Chiefs fan, I think every single time we play them in the playoffs, it's like, okay, this is the one. They got to beat us eventually. I believe this year was the 4th year in a row, or not in a row, but 4th time that we've beat them in the playoffs, and Mahomes is 4-0 against them. And it's gonna happen, sadly, eventually for them, or for us. It's gonna happen, or it's gonna take somebody else knocking us out in the divisional round for the Bills not to have to play us. So we'll see if they can get over the hump this year. I think we'll see if that's what I predict. I mean, maybe this is a little hint. Who knows? But regardless, they're going to be great during the regular season. They always are. They've got a good offensive line. They've got the second best quarterback in the NFL. And, I think Keon Coleman's going to improve this year as their receiver they selected early last year. And James Cook he signed his extension finally, and he's a very underrated running back, and he had 18 touchdowns for them last year. Maybe he'll have a little less, maybe like 13 or 14, but they really are less Josh Allen dependent now, which I think is good. It's kind of crazy to think about that now, like, since he won the MVP last year. But they are, if you're watching the games, they are less dependent on him, and Josh Allen is just an amazing quarterback. That's how he won that MVP. I think the defense also is going to be above average for sure. I think they'll be probably top 10 defense this year, and there's not really much else to say about the Bills that we don't already know. They're not one of the teams that are crazy interesting to talk about going into the season. Really, when the headlines start with them is during the season. I'm so excited for that Week 1 rematch of the AFC divisional playoff game last year. And, even though the Ravens lost that one, are probably just so eager to get out there and kick their butts, I really think the Bills are going to win that one. I mean, I just think that's what's going to happen. Something about the Bills this year, I've just got a feeling about the Bills, and there's no statistic for me to really explain this, but I really think that they are going to get past that mental block whenever it comes to just beating teams like that in the regular season. Like, not that they haven't been able to do that before. They've actually beat the Chiefs all the time, but like the Ravens, like they got their ass kicked last year by the Ravens. I don't think that happens again. I don't think they're going to get I don't think they're going to get blown out at all this year, which is maybe, I guess, not. That hasn't really happened before. I guess I just really think about that Ravens game last year, and I just don't think something like that's going to happen again. And if it does, then honestly, it was really good for them that they lost that game, because then they brought the intensity the rest of the season, and they were able to take it to a controversial 4th down pretty much against the Chiefs. And, if that went the other way, then maybe they could have won the Super Bowl. So we'll see what happens this year with them. Like I said, there's not really much to talk about with the Bills, just because we already know what they're going to do. And I try to just be as realistic as possible. I mean, I'm not going to go out here and say that they're going to go 17-0 and they're going to blow the doors off of everybody and win the Super Bowl. And I'm also not going to say that they're going to finish as a wild card team in their division, have to go on the road, and they're going to lose in the second round. Like, I just don't think that that's a possibility. I don't think either of those are possibilities. So I really think that the Bills are just going to keep doing what the Bills do. And maybe this is just me talking as a Chiefs fan, but eventually I think that they are going to get over that hump and maybe make a Super Bowl. Yeah, I guess we'll find out in the playoff, in my playoff predictions video that's going to come out not soon, because I've got to get through all of these other divisions. I've got 5 more left, but hopefully I'll be able to pump all those out soon. And I hope you guys enjoyed listening to today's podcast. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you can get updates whenever I upload. And also, if I would like to eventually start getting other people on the channel to talk with me, because I can understand that one person doing a podcast isn't always ideal. Obviously, sometimes it's okay, but I do want to have some special guests every once in a while, and I'm going to try to figure out a way to be able to actually do that, get both of the recordings. I might do something like Zoom and just screen record and have my mic and then their mic, and we just talk football, and I'm really excited for that. And I just want to let you guys know that could be a possible video or podcast in the future. And anyways, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast, and I will see you guys later.